Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Ne Zha 2, opening with $7.3 million this weekend domestically, and since it's already been released in other countries, it adds to a worldwide total of $1.6 billion. You heard that right, folks. We have already our first billion-dollar movie. Not only that, it is also the first film in history to make $1 billion in just one country. This is a film from China. It is, of course, the sequel to Ne Zha, which came out in 2019, and that film did huge numbers when it originally released, and obviously a lot of people really liked that movie, and we're really excited to see this movie as well. But to see it make this much in this short amount of time, I think it's only been out for a couple of weeks, or maybe even at least at most a month by this point, but this is an absolutely insane run. Just this amount of money already from just one country alone, pretty much. Obviously it's released in a couple more countries recently, but a lot of this is coming just from China alone. That is incredible to see, and because of that, it is now one of not only the biggest movies ever, but it is slowly but surely approaching the biggest animated film ever. I didn't think it was going to be possible to surpass Inside Out 2 last year, but it seems like this one's going to be able to do it probably in the next couple weeks or so. Hell, we might even see this become the first animated film to reach $2 billion. Just the momentum this movie has had in China alone has just been absolutely impressive, and it seems to be crossing over into America as a lot of people want to see what all the hullabaloo is over. We'll see if it can continue this momentum. Again, it is a foreign language movie, and as we've seen with stuff, like movies based off of anime or movies based in India, those movies tend to be front loaded. So I'm not expecting a huge leggy run for this movie, but the fact that it was able to crack the top 5 as a result of its huge performance is still really impressive. Just the crossover appeal from how it's doing in China, it got a lot of Americans interested to check it out. So yeah, definitely a hugely successful run for Ne Zha 2, and I'm sure it's going to continue to do even more bigger gangbusters as we head throughout the rest of its theatrical run, and the fact that it was able to do this well in America as well is very impressive. Number 4 was Dog Man, making $9.8 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $66 million and its worldwide total to $84 million. So thankfully this movie was able to pick itself back up. The word of mouth was able to catch on once again. It seems that the reason for that big drop off last weekend was definitely due to the Super Bowl, just a lot of families watching the big game, and it seems like a lot of families wanted to and certainly had the time to go check it out this weekend. It has now surpassed the $50 million milestone as well as the $60 million milestone as well. It's on its way to $70 million, which is right around where Captain Underpants ended up for its theatrical run domestically at least. So this will definitely be able to surpass that in the coming weeks, which is a very good sign to see. And once again, with the movie being able to bounce back and being the only fully animated movie in theaters right now, I think that'll be able to help it out as well. And it was able to hold its own against the new big family film. So again, good signs for word of mouth, good signs for legs. It's probably not going to be the next Wild Robot or anything, but I don't think DreamWorks should be too upset over this movie's performance, given how it didn't cost that much to make, and certainly the fans seem to be pretty satisfied with how the movie turned out. And the movie was able to double its $40 million budget worldwide. It should get to $100 million worldwide very soon. It doesn't seem to be having as big of a push or interest internationally, which is pretty concerning, but again, the movie doesn't cost that much to make, so I don't think they're too worried about where this movie is going. Could it have done better? Yes, but this is still this is not like the end times. Things were a lot more concerning last week. This is a good sign. This is a good sign that this might be able to turn itself around a bit. It's not going to be a huge hit like the opening intended it to, but this is still performing pretty good, all things considered. Number 3 was Hard Eyes, making $9.85 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to 21 million. That total stays the same worldwide as there hasn't been a significant increase internationally. Talk about the biggest surprise this weekend, a bloody, graphic, violent, gory horror rom-com, and it was able to have the best hold out of any of the films in the top 5. It went up this weekend of 19%. That is insane. Again, for an R-rated violent horror rom-com, you just do not see stuff like that. The interest was certainly there, and like with Dogman, I think it was largely affected due to the Super Bowl last weekend, but clearly a lot of couples and a lot of people wanted to check this movie out, and I think the word of mouth really benefited this movie. A lot of people seem to be really enjoying it, and because of that, it has already surpassed its initial production budget of 18 million. Now all it has to do is double that, and I think because it did so well this weekend, that's going to carry over for the next couple weeks. We could see this be another sleeper hit for Sony, like one of them days was certainly. The problem though is that there is another horror movie that's been getting a lot of buzz that's coming out this weekend. So the big question is if this movie will be able to maintain its momentum going up against that, but more on that movie later. But given how well it's done thus far, especially this weekend, it wouldn't surprise me if it continues to surprise expectations. I definitely think it's got a shot of doubling its production budget at least, and I'm sure Sony is very happy with how this movie's performing. Yeah, all around a really solid, surprising weekend for Hard Eyes, and I look forward to seeing how much further this movie can go. Definitely, certainly a big surprise and a welcome one at that, for sure. Number 2 was Paddington in Peru. Hey, that rhymed. Opening with $13 million this weekend domestically, and since it's already been released internationally, it adds to a worldwide total of $128 million. This is the second biggest opening in the Paddington franchise. It tops Paddington 2, but still sits behind the original Paddington. It's also the second biggest opening for a family film this year, sitting behind Dogman, and it's the fourth biggest opening of the year overall. It tops One of Them Days, but still sits behind Den of Thieves 2, Dogman, and a certain other movie we will discuss momentarily. This did about what I expected it to do. I didn't expect like a huge improvement over the second Paddington film or even the first one really, but this is still a pretty impressive opening, especially given, you know, how there was a decline with the second one. It seemed like not a lot of people wanted to go out and check it out when it originally released, at least in America. So to see it improve over that film is a great sign to see, and you know, it was able to really impress this holiday weekend. I think, you know, with a lot of kids out of school, a lot of families wanted to go see something new this weekend, you know, something other than Dogman, and this movie did the trick for a lot of people. And you know, the reputation for these Paddington movies have been so high, and the bar has been so high and immaculate for these movies that, again, a lot of the Paddington fans wanted to see how this would measure up against the other movies, and because of that, the movie seems to be reaping the rewards. It's been doing gangbusters in the UK, and it seems to be carrying over into America as well, and I think we'll see some pretty solid legs here as well. This movie is consistent with the other films, as audiences are really liking it. It got another A on CinemaScore, the third film to get an A in this franchise as well. It puts it on par with Dogman, so that's also another good sign for legs. What also helps is that there's not, you know, the biggest televised event of the year happening this weekend, so it doesn't have to worry about that. And also, it's pretty much the only family film out for a while. There's not another kid movie until The Day the Earth Blew Up and Snow White in March, so this movie's got plenty of time, plenty of wiggle room to grow and expand, and I think we will definitely see that given how strong the word of mouth is and the lack of competition. Yeah, pretty good opening for Paddington in Peru. It didn't, you know, knock anyone's socks off like what happened with Dogman, but this is still a really solid opening, all things considered, and I think we'll see this movie turn out pretty well for itself. Even with its $90 million budget, I think the legs on this movie domestically will help carry it over to the doubling point worldwide. So yeah, once again, things are looking pretty good for Paddington in Peru. Pretty good opening, I would say. And finally, let's end the video off with the #1 movie of the weekend, which was Captain America: Brave New World. opening with $87 million this weekend domestically and $192 million worldwide. This is, of course, the biggest opening of the year so far. It topped Dog Man, Den of Thieves 2, Paddington in Peru, and One of Them Days. For a Captain America movie, this is the third biggest opening in the franchise. It topped Captain America, the First Avenger, but still sits behind The Winter Soldier and Civil War. And in terms of the MCU, I'm not going to name all of those movies, but just to briefly summarize it, it is the 24th biggest opening. It sits behind Thor: The Dark World and Spider-Man: Far From Home. So I would call this a pretty good start. It's nothing mind-blowing. This is not Deadpool or anything, but given all of the trials and tribulations this movie went through, I think this is the best possible scenario this movie could have had. This is obviously, it's going to hold on to this record for the biggest opening of the year for a while. I think at the very least until Minecraft probably. And I think a lot of people were definitely interested. I think they sold the movie well to a lot of people. And, it was able to make back its $180 million budget back worldwide this weekend. That's all good. That's all good said and done. But then there lies ahead what comes after this, the weeks after. Its legs, its word of mouth, and that is looking very concerning. This did not win people over, unfortunately. Reviews were very mixed. They weren't horrible, but there was definitely a mix of quality for a lot of critics, and audiences did not gel with this movie either. It got a B- cinema score, which is now the new low for the MCU in terms of cinema score ratings. It's lower than Quantumania, Love and Thunder, The Marvels, and actually puts it on par with Venom: The Last Dance, which I think that was more beneficial to that movie than it is to this movie, because with those Venom movies, you knew what to expect, and I think a lot of people knew exactly what to expect with those movies. Here, it's the next MCU movie. There's a higher bar, so that is definitely concerning. So people aren't really gelling with this movie. It's not winning people over. I don't think we're gonna see some great legs for this movie. This could end up being another big disappointment, maybe on the same level as Wolfman, and that movie didn't even have a good opening. At least this one had a good opening, to be fair, but I don't know. The signs are pointing towards that. I mean, a lot of movies would kill to have this type of money, but this is an MCU movie. These are very expensive. This is like their 35th movie, and mediocrity ain't gonna cut it anymore. You have to deliver on quality. If these movies ain't good enough to win people over, then people aren't going to see them. So that's really the big thing here. Yes, it won the weekend. Yes, the opening is not bad, but then there comes what comes next after this. The second weekend, it's legs, it's word of mouth, and it's not looking too good, unfortunately. Who knows? Again, Venom got a similar score, and that was able to defy expectations. That was able to, turn itself around. But still, though, I just think this is working so much against this movie's favor as opposed to what happened with Venom: The Last Dance. So yeah, as far as the opening, it's good. I cannot deny, I cannot argue, it's a good opening. It made its budget back. Biggest opening of the year already. It's probably gonna be the first film to crack 100 million domestically this year. That's good. That's all good, said and done. But going forward, the future is not looking too good for this movie, unfortunately. So we'll see where it goes from here. Hopefully, it turns itself around. Hopefully, hopefully I'm proven wrong here, but yeah, I'm not expecting much for this movie going forward, unfortunately. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. This weekend we have one new major wide release, that film being The Monkey. It is based off of the beloved Stephen King novel about a very peculiar toy monkey that every time in the book it would slam its cymbals, but due to a copyright notice from Disney, it can bang at drums. But every time it bangs the drums, someone dies in a horrifically graphic and violent way. Now, horror has had a rocky start this year, let's be honest. Wolfman, Companion, things are picking up with Hard Eyes, but even that didn't start too strong. I have a feeling this one will be the one. I know I've said that for the past 3 horror movies, but this will be the one. I have a feeling about it because the buzz just seems to be really strong with this movie. A lot of people seem to be really interested and excited about it. This is the latest from Osgood Perkins, who did Longlegs, which was a surprise horror hit from last year, and a lot of people seem to be really interested with it. I see a lot of people talking about this movie, and Neon has been doing an excellent job marketing this movie. For being a smaller distributor, they've been doing an excellent job promoting it with like the billboards, the giant standees, and a lot of promos and ads I've seen for it recently. I think we could see a surprise opening here. There just seems to be a lot working with this movie, and critics seem to be enjoying it as well. People are liking the dark, twisted comedy and the graphic violence of it. Yeah, overall, I see this movie surprising. I think this could be the one. I know I've been wrong a lot with these horror movies these past couple ones, but if Hard Eyes is anything to go off of, I think we could see a pretty solid debut here. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.